The latest Nintendo Direct showcased some great looking games. Enough so that I decided to go ahead and throw together a quick compilation of my 10 favorites that we saw. That's not to say that I expect to be playing every game on this list, since it's not always about a game simply looking fun. Sometimes you have to pick and choose which games to play in favor of others, because there's just not enough time and money to accommodate everything. Not to mention that there are other games that I'm highly anticipating, that were not shown at all during the Direct. Nevertheless, these 10 games, at the very least, intrigued me enough to grab my attention. To simplify things, however, I won't be listing the games in order of favoritism. Rather, I'll be showing them in order as they were shown during the Direct. With that established, let's stop wasting time, and get right into it. The Mario and Luigi games are fantastic. I still haven't yet played Paper Jam, but the other 4 were all thoroughly enjoyable, and Brothership looks no different. Classic timed hit-based combat, platforming, and many games are back in full force, along with the stylistic graphics, and charming characters representative of the franchise. Here's hoping this latest entry lives up to that phenomenal legacy, and gives us another timeless classic. I don't really have much to say about this one. With an intriguing world and characters that left me wondering what was happening with the plot, combined with fascinating and intricate platforming challenges, this game caught my attention and held firm. And sometimes, that's all you need out of a simple trailer. My interest in this game comes with some backstory. I'm not much of a sports guy, and sports video games are little exception. However, I do like to have a handful of various sports games in my collection just in case I do get in the mood to play them, and one sport that my collection is still lacking in representation is basketball. I've been thinking about grabbing NBA Jam to fill that void, but a while ago I learned of a Looney Tunes basketball game from that same era that looks similarly, or perhaps even more fun than NBA Jam. So when I saw this, I was thinking that maybe it was a sequel of sorts to that, only to then feel skepticism when this showcased more than just basketball. Nevertheless, that reasoning has me curious about how this will shape up, and if it's exactly what I need to fill that very specific void in my game collection. I just hope that the sports included are properly fleshed out, and aren't instead a collection of half-assed games like we saw with Mario Sports Mix. I don't like farming games, and I never cared much for Pikmin. However, I do enjoy RPGs where you recruit monster parties, so this game has left me with very mixed feelings. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for it, but at this point I'm more curious than anything else regarding how it will shape up. About a year or 2 ago, I played through the first 3 Dragon Quest games for the first time on NES. And despite being an avid RPG player, I didn't really like them very much. Despite that, I am curious about this remake. While normally I'm not a fan of remakes versus originals, the fact that I didn't much care for the originals, but definitely saw potential in them, I'm curious to see if these remakes will make adjustments that I'll find more enjoyable. Although I thoroughly enjoyed what I have experienced, I never played much Metal Slug, having only ever played through 1 or 2 of them on the Metal Slug Anthology for the Wii. I'm also not super into tower defense games as a genre, but have gotten plenty of enjoyment out of them when in the right mood. That said, this combination of the two looks like nothing short of chaotic fun. With tons of units to select and experiment, and even an online versus mode to add replayability if the campaign alone isn't enough, this looks like it could be a good time whenever I'm in the mood for something a bit more mindlessly hectic. When Darkest Dungeon first released, it was a game I was curious to try, but kept putting off. That is, until I fractured my wrist, and needed a game to keep me occupied that I could play with only one hand. That made the perfect opportunity to finally try it out, since it could be mostly played using only a mouse, and I thoroughly enjoyed the experience. And with Darkest Dungeon 2 adding some very interesting looking new features, including a form of progression that looks like it'll have much better replay value than the original. I'll definitely be wanting to check this one out to see how those new features pan out. With over 110 mini-games, a 20-player online mode, and boards that actually look decently sized, this latest entry in the Mario Party series looks like it could be a load of fun. I'm just hoping that they make this entry a bit more punishing than the previous Switch titles. Recent Mario Party games have been way too soft on the player, completely missing the point of what made the series fun in the first place. Hopefully this latest entry will see the return of spaces like Chance Time, and make coins a lot more difficult to both obtain and hold onto. By no means am I a Zelda fan. I gave up on the series after Skyward Sword, because despite having bought many Zelda games leading up to that, I almost never enjoyed them enough to actually see them through to the end. Echoes of Wisdom, however, looks fascinating. I love the idea of puzzle-based exploration and combat, and am hoping that the gameplay doesn't become too generic and tedious with way too many items that serve the same function, and only look different from others. On the opposite end of that spectrum, Metroid is my second favorite video game franchise, sandwiched between Mega Man at number 1, and Pokémon taking up the rear. Naturally, that means I'm looking forward to playing Metroid Prime 4, and hopefully learning more about what Sylux was up to at the end of Federation Force. Regardless of the story though, this is clearly classic Prime goodness, and I'm glad that Nintendo reportedly brought Retro Studios back into the mix to make this game the best it can possibly be. Also hoping for full remasters of Prime 2 and 3 leading up to this game's release, but I won't be holding my breath for those. And there you have it. My 10 favorite games showcased during the latest Nintendo Direct. Let me know what some of your favorites were in the comments, and thanks for watching.